money or like the types of relationships you can have
there's a
with
few
people,
different kind. There's a generic kind. Like,
Okay.
I'm not pretty enough. I'm not handsome enough. My shoulders aren't broad enough. My waist isn't thin enough. I'm not handsome, pretty enough. Those are like your generic beliefs. Sorry, Scott.
Oh, good.
Those are your generic, like, limiting beliefs, which we all have, right? And then there's ones, then there's ones of like, well, I didn't finish college, so I'll never be successful. Or there's like, I'm not in a relationship, I don't have a romantic partner, so therefore I'm unlovable. You know, so those are like a little bit more specific, right?
Right.
And I think we're all ruled by them in some extent. And so our job is, or to live a life well done, is to get past those somehow, right?
Yes.
And then it's like, well, how do you do that? Right?
That's the $1 million question.
That's a $1 million question.
I think it's a lot.
I have a few answers to that, but yeah.
Well,
go on.
you got to actually take a look at it, take inventory.
Absolutely.
Like, I was talking with what was I saying?
Jackie.
You're
Jackie
talking about-
Thatcher.
Jackie Thacker.
See, I
Thacker.
said Julie.
Thatcher,
That was
Thacker.
close.
Thacker.
So you're talking about limited beliefs.
Well, she was talking about having self-awareness, and like self-awareness can only get you so far, right? Like
100%.
being aware of it is the first step. Like,
Yeah, I think that's about like 20% though, honestly, because aren't all of us aware of it? Like, we know it, and I think that that's like a personal hell that we all live in when we know something and we know we think we know what to do, but we're not really sure. But we know something, but we do nothing about it. And that, to me, is the worst kind of hell ever, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you felt that way when you're like, I know I need to get sober, but you didn't get sober, and it took, I don't know how long. I don't know your story, but it took a while, right?
Yes.
Or like, I listened to a little bit of your podcast, Eric. You were like, I know I need to get divorced, but you couldn't do it, so you waited for her to pull the trigger. Typical. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Typical man here. So, but like, that's a personal hell, right?
Yeah.
Knowing what you need to do and you don't do it. So I think we all know what we need to do, or we all know what we want to get to. So I think awareness is literally 20%.
Oh yeah.
It's not all of it. And everyone's like, well, that's the first step. Well, yeah, that's the first step, but everyone's stuck on that fucking first step, you know?
Well, it's like stuck
then
at the
what?
part where like I know it, but I'm not following.
God, isn't that the
with
worst
action.
feeling ever?
I mean, yes, definitely. If you're aware of it and you're not doing,
And then you
anything
stay
and you know
there
you
for
should.
months and months and years.
That's
God,
terrible.
It's horrible. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, I think, like with the alcoholism thing, they talk about, oh, you got to hit rock bottom, then you'll bounce up. Well, from what I hear, you can hit rock bottom and drag that shit
Yeah.
until you die, basically, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's hell, if you ask me.
I at some point in my recovery decided to not say like rock bottom being anywhere in particular, but
I
like
agree.
when you stop, like when you put the shovel down.
Yeah.
And you start using different tools, and
Or when
like,
you're ready to lift the anchor up so you don't keep dragging that bottom,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Let go of the anchor, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on with that being the worst place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think like when you get that awareness of like, oh, this is not where I want to be, okay, then what, right? So what's the next step? So the next step is, honestly, and I hate this step, I hate it, but you got to write that shit down. So I think like, you know, like when you're there, like, am I feeling anxious? If I'm feeling depressed, if I'm feeling lethargic, if I'm feeling like I have no passion in my life, and you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling this, but write that shit down, right? And then as you write it down, you're like, oh, this is why I'm feeling that way.
Yeah.
Right? And then you know what the next step is, which no one wants to do.
It's to erase it and pretend you never wrote
Exactly.
Like,
I'm going to clap by the mic. Exactly. And then pretend you don't. Yeah, you don't. You didn't.
Dry erase boards, baby.
Yeah, man. Have another drink. Yeah. Or get busy with work, or have more sex, or eat more, or whatever it is. Right.
which are all things that are fine to want, but not like
No, it's
in
fine.
avoiding or as a distraction.
No, it's fine. They're great coping mechanisms. I mean, I've done it, and we've all done it, and they're great coping strategies. But after a while, if you're still waking up miserable, something needs to change, right?
Right.
You
Take
know,
action.
and it's like, you know, I can't remember exactly how the saying goes, but it's like, if your thoughts remain the same and your life remains the same, are you okay with that? And if you're okay with it, you're in a great place.
Yeah.
But if you're not, then what happens is the big A word, which is action.
Right.
Right? And that's where people don't want to go, and I'm speaking, personally, it's hard, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk more later if you want about like my own personal stuff, but like action is the hardest thing. But in order to dissolve a false belief, like I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough because I don't have a college degree, I won't be successful, or whatever it is, the only way to dissolve a false belief is through action or experience. You can't outthink it. You can't outread it. I can write all the memes or little cute sayings I want in lipstick on my mirror and look at it every day and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to love myself today. But without action, it means shit.
Mm-hmm. And also, that's wasteful because lipstick is expensive.
You know what? If you looked at my makeup bag right now, I bet there's $350 worth of makeup.
And that's just like 3 sticks of lipstick and 1 eyebrow brush, and like that's it.
Listen, I shop at Walgreens sometimes, so I stretch that dollar out. But
I don't envy that, like the $350 worth of makeup.
I know.
I take shit for granted like that, man.
I know. I had a friend the other day. He was like saying something about like, oh, I got to get my hair done today, and then I'm going to go get my eyebrow. Like I was saying that, and he goes, "That's a lot of work." And I'm like, "It is. Like it takes time." And he's like, "If I were a woman, I could never do it." And he's like, "But as a man, I really appreciate your efforts." Is what he was saying. So last year, I was in a really bad place. Got broken. Let's see. Well, not last. November 2018. Got broken up with a man I thought was the one. He was the one that was like worth all the effort, right? The divorce, the this, the that. And I was like, oh, here he is, right? And then my son got really sick, and real life happened. And he was like, I'm out. Like I'm bouncing, yo.
Like he didn't want that kind of responsibility?
No.
Okay.
I mean, well, this is a whole nother topic, but at the beginning, I think he really pedestaled me. He was like, oh, here's this really pretty girl, and she's really smart, and she supports herself, and she's got all these things going.
Motivated,
and then,
ambitious.
yeah, all this stuff, and I helped him repair relationships with his family, and blah, blah, blah. And then my son got sick, and I needed support. And then all of a sudden, I was clingy, and I was codependent, and I was needy, and I was crying too much, and I was like, I'm sorry, my son is sick.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the point is, so that was really tough. And my son was still sick when we broke up. So I wrote all that shit in lipstick on my mirror, which I'd never done before in my life because I always thought it was cheesy. But in a way, it kind of helped. But the difference was I looked at that shit, and then I was like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes was like, let's see, how did it go? Like, may I love myself in a way that connects me to myself. And that's different than like, I'm going to get a facial and love myself. Yeah. Right? Or I'm going to, that does help to take care of your parents.
It's self-care or whatever.
It's self-care, but the true
but
thing is like, how am I going to connect to myself? A pedicure is not going to connect me to myself. Like, how do I do that? Well, I do some hard stuff is how I do it, right? Like I hold myself accountable to some goals.
And have other people that will also help hold you accountable to those goals.
Well, yeah, that does help. It helps to have a support group. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you don't need a lot of friends as you get older, but you need a couple solid good ones that are going to pull you out of that house when you're taking too much Xanax and you're crying your eyes out. And, It's like...
And the Xanax you think's going to help is just making it worse.
No, it doesn't work. But, you need that. And, like, the best advice I ever got, and I've said this before, is, like... if you're in heartbreak or if you're in whatever it is you're going through, it's get out of your head and get out of your house because nothing's going to work in your house.
Right.
Like, and that's the action step I'm talking about,
right.
So, yes, I did write some memes on my mirror and lipstick and, I don't know, it did seem to help for a little bit, but only because I took action. Right. So last year was like my year of saying yes. I was like, I'm going to say yes to everything.
You were a yes woman?
Yeah. Don't get carried away.
You want to get a Red Bull? I've never heard of
Rebel? I've never had Red Bull. I had Red Bull today.
Red Bull.
Rebel. Greatest Red Bull ever. You want a Red Bull? Let's get a Red Bull.
Oh my God, I haven't had a Red Bull for years.
Yeah,
or a Monster.
I probably drink too many Red Bulls, but they're like right there at work,
Yeah. That's still
jack you up.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
for me. They don't even work anymore. Like, I don't even know why I still bother to drink them. Like, I've built up an immunity.
So it's just like habit? You're just like, I need a Red Bull.
It's more like, I think it's more like a placebo effect. I'm like, I'm tired of feeling sluggish. Let me get this thing, and then I think
I bet it is placebo.
more energy, and it works for like 20 minutes, and
Well,
then
that's so interesting.
So this last year, you were a yes woman.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent. To
Okay.
a certain extent,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Like in the healthy areas. that you
And it
needed
was
to be.
great, though. It was great. Like I said yes to, like I did some podcasts last year, and that was really scary for me, but
Yeah.
I did it anyways. And I said yes to putting myself more out there on Instagram. And I said yes to, became, IFC, which is International Coaching Federation, certified for life coaching, something I always wanted to do, but I was like, I don't want to drop the money. I don't want to, you have all these roadblocks, right?
Right.
Which is what life coaching helps you dissolve, right?
Yeah.
Roadblocks get in the way of what you want to do. Roadblocks are there because of your limited beliefs or distorted thinking. We create roadblocks that we think are real.
Yeah.
And they're imaginary, right?
Or they're just hurdles. You gotta jump through over
actually, yeah.
whatever.
Well, absolutely, yeah. So
Because of financial, like the cost of doing that was real, right?
no, it was real, and it
how
did
much-
take a hit on my bank account.
Yeah.
That's real.
But it's meaningful to you.
Absolutely. And, people will spend, $1,200 in 2 months on a $600 car payment.
Right. Do you know
And it's crazy.
Zig
to me.
Ziglar? Are you familiar with Zig Ziglar?
100%. Like
Okay.
how to win friends and influence people.
Well,
That's Zig Ziglar.
a lot of this stuff. He has
Boom.
He has a quote that
Hello.
nailed it.
Nailed it.
is a good book.
Yeah.
He's got a quote
It's an
that
old one,
says
yeah.
something to the effect of, "People will only ever spend money on a product or service when they believe that that product or service is worth more to them than the cost."
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
true.
like,
That's why people buy Mercedes, because they're like, this is going to make me something. It's worth more than whatever. Like, I'm going to be someone now if I
Yeah.
drive this car
the-
or whatever.
it's like the prestige
Yeah,
aspect
absolutely.
of it. Like,
Yeah.
I will be projecting this image of myself that I think that other people value.
But isn't that usually like an extrinsic thing?
Like external from yourself? you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Instead of I always say those words wrong.
Well, that-
Extrinsic, intrinsic. But right? But no one wants to put the money in for like an internal thing.
I don't think that that's entirely accurate. I think
Okay.
that socially we're conditioned to be consumers, sure.
Well, we live in a capitalist society.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
For
like
better,
there's
for
also
worse.
like I imagine, like, do you have an Audible too, or
What are you talking
Like,
about?
the app?
He just used
Okay.
a big word.
Audible, like the
Oh,
book.
oh yeah,
reading.
yeah.
okay,
yeah.
so you pay every month to be able to
Oh
get
no,
the books,
no! I don't have Audible. No,
Okay,
I don't
okay.
pay for books. No,
No,
I
'cause
do
the
a lot of
library
podcasts.
exists.
Yeah,
Okay,
The
well,
library is a thing.
Well,
You
so-
can go and get stuff for
yeah,
free.
I know.
then
And they're
that's-
like, just
that's-
bring it back
Yeah,
whenever.
but that's still an
That's-
investment. Like, maybe not as much
Time.
monetarily, yeah, but time. Like, you're going there and you're putting the time into ingesting this material information.
And to sit and read a book takes time, as
Yeah.
opposed to putting your headphones and be bopping around town or doing your errands. you know.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well,
so
he's got you there.
the like,
Sure.
I mean, I know me personally. I invest monetarily a good chunk of money every month to self improvement, personal development type stuff.
In what? Do you mind me asking?
Well, like just Audible by itself, but also like I've been a part of a couple different multi-level marketing companies where I'm getting coaching from people.
Yeah.
Currently, I don't have anything going on like that right now, but
yeah, that helps. Yeah.
so podcasts too, YouTube videos. Listen to a lot of Gary V.
Oh
if
my
you're-
God, that guy!
He's
I
a
love
fucking
hate
genius.
him. I love hate him.
Yeah,
God, I just don't know what I think about him. I mean, I kind of want to be him. I want to be the female Gary Vee.
dude, he's a fucking on point guy on like everything that I'm listening to whenever he's talking about stuff that is like practical and applicable.
Listen, I downloaded TikTok because of him. Because he
Right?
said everyone needs to be on TikTok these days. Because he was promoting Instagram 10 years ago and no one was
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
So now I downloaded TikTok, but I don't know how to do it.
Well, he's probably got a video to tell you exactly what to do with it.
Yeah, probably.
The cool
I just
thing, though-
the tech like frightens me. But
What you might think about trying is doing your TikTok videos and then uploading, like downloading them and then uploading those to your story on Instagram, because then you're getting a double.
isn't TikTok like 9 seconds or something?
I don't
Yeah,
have.
it's something like that. It's like Vine.
But it's all cute and they all cut it up and like then they're dancing and
But
I'm
if
like
you if you throw that on your Instagram page,
Yeah.
people will then know that you have a TikTok, and then if they have
Yeah.
TikTok, they'll be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, she's got a TikTok. Let's check her out there
Yeah.
too." You know,
Yeah. No, yeah.
it's like cross promotional thing.
No, Gary Vee's awesome, but he's a little intense, and I think sometimes he makes people feel shitty because they're not doing "quote unquote" enough. You know, and I think that's where you have to give yourself some grace. It's like, I'm doing enough today, and then I'm going to do a little bit more tomorrow. Like, I'm a firm believer in, like, 1% better every day. You know, Gary Vee's all like, do it all now, and blah, 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 blah. Although I feel like he has been changing